Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, January 30th, 2023. We are pretty much done with January. Just like that. Boom. Gone. Gone. Now what? One more day, and then January is gone. The weather here has been off and on. Rain, a little bit warm, then it gets cold. You know how it is. Like I say early spring. It's not early spring yet. It's late winter in that respect. So we've been struggling with the weather still, and with that makes things difficult doing the Bronco and stuff related to the Bronco. As I've mentioned in a previous video, I'm trying to take care of small things for the ultimate goal of getting paint on it, and it's been a struggle. The other quarter panel worked out pretty good. This quarter panel I think is going to be fine, but there's only so much that I'm going to be able to do. Now, with that said, I think I've come up with a plan. You know how it is. You know how you come up with a plan, an idea. And I've mentioned before that I was to have a 69 Mustang coming. And I think that's what's going to happen. Based on what I'm experiencing with the Bronco and having to wait for good weather, because I really need it to be, honestly, 75, 80 degrees. I need it to be that warm to get a good paint job out of it. And that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I think I'm going to work on this for the next week or so and finish out everything I can, as much as I can, and then it's going to get pushed aside, and the 69 428 Cobra Jet Resto Mod should be arriving hopefully February 10th, I think. I think that's the goal. So once that gets here, I'm going to start doing rust repair. Get back on that. I'm a little surprised, I think. I say that. You know, with the popularity of Broncos, and everybody seems to be involved with Broncos, my viewership on the Bronco stuff is not climbing. I'm really surprised. It's just kind of stagnant. I'm lucky to get 1,000 views, and I have almost 61,000 subscribers, and I'm lucky to get 1,000 views out of that, out of the Bronco stuff. So it's a little disappointing. I was hoping there would be some sort of a jump on that level, but maybe when I push it aside and get started on the 69, maybe that'll change some things, and who knows? Who knows? I also know that January is always the roughest. I've probably mentioned this before. Throughout the year, you'll see a wave of viewership and revenue and stuff like that. And December usually works out on the upswing, let's say, a little bit. And then January comes and it drops. So the reason for that is all the advertisers, they have a budget and they're expending their budget for the end of the year. And then January comes and they have to pull back the reins and start over. I always get stressed over that, even though I know that's a fact. But I always get stressed over that because it's like, I kind of count on that. I kind of count on that revenue, but hey, it's the cycle you have to go through. So anyway, that's where we're at right now. As you see, the Bronco is turned around, and I haven't fitted the other door yet. I'm waiting on. Well, I'm waiting on. I could use the same striker that's on the other side. Take it back off and put it on this side and fit things up. So it is making progress. It is moving forward. I had some other issues pop up. I did some work on some other vehicles for some other people, and recently my little Honda Fit has a hiccup. So check engine light is on, and it's like running on 2 cylinders, and that's not good. Don't make any progress moving around in that little car right now. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at right now in this timeline, and let's see who is here and make sure we get our shout outs. So Rick Stevenson checking in. Good evening, everyone. Glad you're here, Rick. And you also get a bell for showing up. Just like, you get a class. You show up for class, you get a bell. Derek Pro checking in from Australia. Glad you're here, Derek. Hello, Barry guys and gals. Hope everyone is well. See you soon. Steve Grimes checking in. Good evening from Central PA. Glad to hear Steve. Terry Keithley. Hello all. January's gone. Here comes spring. Please hit the like and thumbs up for Barry. Thank you kindly. Yes, thank you, Terry. Thank you much. Rick Gain was in the 50s in New Jersey today. Looking forward to some good car talk. Let's hope we have some of that. Glad you're here, Rick. Ed Cucciarella. Hello all. Hello, Ed. Glad you're here. AD. Okay. AD is here. Hi, guys. Dave Britton checking in from the Great White North. Hi, Dave. Glad you're here. Troy Justit. Greetings from a rainy coastal Georgia. The Bronco is coming along. Yes, it is, Troy, and I'm glad you're here. I saw you had commented or thumbs up a bunch of my Facebook posts, so I appreciate that. Rick, hit the thumbs up for Barry, folks. Yes, thank you, Rick. Dave Tyson. Cool, -5 in Minnesota. Okay, you win. You can have all the cold. You get it all. You can have all of mine for the next lifetime. You can get it all. Robert checking in from Texas. Evening all. Nice even coat of ice on everything here. Yes, Robert shared some pictures with me earlier, and I'm not looking forward to the weather that will probably work its way from Texas to Georgia. Not a good sign, but glad you're here, Robert. Crash Riders from a soon-to-be wet, icy, and snowy southern Indiana. Good evening to everyone. Glad you're here, Crash Rider. Yeah, it's a wave of bad weather is working its way across the U.S. Donnie Williams, chicks dig bikes. Okay. Bob Shoemaker, good evening all from Steel. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Sleet Pelted, Oklahoma. I kind of did a dyslexic thing there and switched some letters. Sleet Pelted, Oklahoma. Glad you're here, Bob. Donnie Williams, just changed out door hinge bushings with a Mustang Steve kit. Alignment is a pain. It can be. I have videos on how to do that. It's funny whenever I hear stuff like that, and it is. If you haven't been doing this type of work and adjustment, it can be a pain. And I've struggled with those doors as well. What's interesting, I think, is if you look at some of the old pictures, I don't have any up with me right now, but if you look at some of the old pictures of the Mustangs going down the assembly line, realize that they had a jig that they could twist the door on the car to make it fit. So if they shut the door and they were like, oh, this doesn't work and this doesn't work, grab the twister and they could tweak it and say, oh, there you go, all good, taken care of, move along. Yeah, it'd be nice to have one of those handy. Mr. Mikey, wet and cold in South Texas. Enjoyed the Part 5 update on the Bronco build. Thanks for doing this, Barry. Well, thank you, Mr. Mikey. Jerry checking in. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. It's colder and icier than Robert's temperament. Okay. Derek Pro. Weather sounds like here is summer here. Some days 36 degrees Celsius. Next 12 degrees Celsius. Rain, hail, even snow. Crazy. Yeah, that is pretty crazy. That's a big swing for anywhere, but I know in Australia that would be a big swing. You know what's funny, and I say funny, maybe it's not funny. I saw a video the other day, and just to bring this up since you're mentioning the weather and how crazy it is. Apparently there's some out there, and I don't know, I'm not a scientist. I just watch videos and occasionally go, maybe that's true. They're talking about a polar shift, right? I say a polar shift, the north-south, the pole shift, because right now we have the North Pole and South Pole at a slight angle. Top is ice and cold, and bottom is ice and cold. And some scientists say that this happens like every 12,000 years, that the magnetic north actually shifts, or the Earth will shift on the poles. And if you look at that and you think about it, and they talk about that's why we're having some of these extreme weather conditions, because the Earth is getting ready to do this shift. Now, what's scary about that, if you back up a second and go, how can they prove this or whatever? If you look at the tundra, Russia, where they have Siberia, and they have they found all the woolly mammoths, all these beasts up there that are all frozen solid, and yet they are pretty much intact. And the area that they're finding them in underneath is like grassland. And they said that's because it happened like that. And I was like, you don't think about that. You just think, oh, there's a bunch of dead animals frozen in the ice. But actually, they say it happened so fast because they're finding stuff inside the animals that's still viable. Like there's still food products and stuff inside them. So maybe we're going to have a big pole shift. And from what I understand, they were saying that the poles might end up at India and, what was it, South Africa or something? I can't remember exactly. But they said that's where the next pole shift may end up. So we might all be in trouble. I don't know. Hope I'm not here for that. Rick Gain, if you need the warm weather, take the Bronco to Texas and paint it with Robert. I can't. He's got snow. He's got ice and snow, I'm telling you. Maybe Robert will send me a picture or something. And we can show that, because yeah, it's pretty bad. Donnie, cold here in San Antonio as well. Talking Mr. Mikey. Art Man, just in time for Valentine's. Well, yeah, Valentine's Day. That's always fun. And Art has sent me some pictures, so I'm gonna download these pictures and I'll get them loaded up onto the stream, so we can we can laugh about them. In the meantime, I want to show you some other pictures as well before we get to that point. And let me see if I get any of these to load. Yeah. Because, there's always people out there that do it slightly different than others. Okay, let me get caught up on the comments and we'll go back to that in just a second. We got a lot of comments here. Let's see. Lynn, Mustang projects are awesome. I agree. And I think that's part of the problem. Is I'm known for doing Mustang stuff, mostly. Art, I've been busy and haven't been able to check out the videos yet. I'll catch up at some point. Well, please do. Please do. It's fantastic that my videos, they get thumbs up, and comments. I'm showing 100% likes, which is great. But the viewership is what I need. I need people to watch those videos. Derek, a lot of people have been away also, so I don't think it's your content. Always good to watch you, legend. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. Lighting Rod, checking in from PA. Love the opening photo. 67 Shelby GT350. Thumbs up. Yes. And he says, I show up. I want a trophy. You got a trophy right there. You got 2 bells. 2 bells. David Gless. Hi, everyone. There will always be a passion for the 60s and 70s muscle cars. You will always have more views on that subject. Thank you, David. I hope so. Derek, as per usual, you're repairing new panels to fit. This is happening more and more. Very frustrating. Yes, very much so. Richard, don't miss the cold and ice. 81 degrees in Central Florida. That sounds very pleasing. I would like that a lot. Let's see. Harvey checking in from New Jersey. Glad you're here, Harvey. I don't know if I gave Richard a bell. I'll make sure I give one. Dan Bruce, have you made any videos on how to safely remove the coil springs on a 68 Mustang? I'm heading in that direction soon. I don't know if I have. I have some suspension videos on the Jade Mustang, the 68. And I may have something in there. I know I did installation videos, and I used the same tool. But I can't remember if I did one specifically for removal. So, in that sense, let me tell you this, because growing up I did crazy stuff. We had the junkyard and stuff. We never had a spring removal tool that I know of. So it was always get a pry bar and hope for the best. And the thing would shoot across the junkyard. I put coil springs in a 60 or a 70 Mustang Coupe that I was rebuilding when I was 15. And believe it or not, I took about probably 20 or 30 hose clamps. And I put them around the coils and I tightened those things down. And I squeezed that thing down with hose clamps from radiator. But it worked. It worked. Nothing came apart. So if you have to, get a bunch of hose clamps. But no, there are dedicated tools for that. You could probably even maybe rent some from Advanced Auto Parts or AutoZone. They have a free tool rental, so you may look at that. But yeah, I know I did a video on putting them in, so you have to check out the video series. Dave Conville, good evening all. Glad you're here. Donnie, I'll make sure I check out your videos ASAP. Thanks. Yes, thank you, Donnie. Rick Stevenson. Had great weather this weekend for the Rolex. Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Derek, we did the same back in the day. If a vehicle had a water leak, a twist and a bend on the door frame, and all is good. Yeah, that's what they used on the assembly line. There's pictures of it out there. Dave Britton, I think the reason Texas is typically warmer is probably from Robert's Barbecue. That's a very good answer. That's a very good answer. Because we all know that, Robert does stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's torture. Just torture. All right. Let's see. Donnie's chuckling. Robert, 26 for the high today, and she just got back from Florida. I couldn't go because she got me sick. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Crash Rider, with the Arctic shift, I suppose we better hurry up and finish our projects in order to enjoy them before we all freeze to death. Well, yeah, and I was thinking about that. If you look at where they predict the poles are going to be, we may be in the good. Maybe we'll be more towards the equator rather than in the cold, right? We might be actually, in a tropical environment. Have to wait and see. Chris Greenaway checking in. Another Canada native. Simone. Good morning, everyone, and Barry. Good morning, Simone. Glad you were here. And Leo, I guess Frack. I don't know how to say that. Are Scott Drake fenders for 65 any good? I don't have time to metal patch my driver's fender. Diagnosed with very aggressive cancer. Trying my best to get this car done while I can. I can't say if they're any good for the 65. I really can't. I know I did a review on the 68 fender that I bought from Summit Racing. So I had an original fender for Jade. I bought the Scott Drake fender, and I had another fender which was a Chinese whatever. And I did a comparison of those on my videos for Jade series. The Scott Drake was disappointing enough for me that I went ahead and just took it back. But I can't say that it wouldn't work on the 65. I know that I've had good luck with the general cheaper fenders that I've gotten, say, from CJ Pony or something like that, and then, been able to make those work. So I think the 65 and 6 generally have, I don't know, I won't say a better fender, but they may be slightly better in the more generic form than the ones for the 68 and 67, if that makes any sense. So, but good question. I don't know if anybody else has any input on the Scott Drake fenders for the 65. If you do, chime in. Good question. Wait. There we go. Simone, Robert, that food looks tasty. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Dave Britton. Back when I had my 68 GT Fastback in the 70s, I used a bottle jack and a cable and compressed the spring by sitting the jack on top and just jacked it up. It was still scary. Yes. Yeah, that would definitely still be scary. Robert, maybe I need to thaw out some ribs, cook tomorrow. Going to make sourdough bread, so might as well. Oh, that sounds good. And Derek, the correct spring compressor for the Mustang makes it safe and easy. We did it the hard way for many years. Also very sketchy. Had a friend that squashed down with press and tied with wire. Bad. Yes. Yes, that is definitely scary to do it that way. Um, yeah, Jerry says you have to do that, Robert. So there you go. Now you have permission. Chris, the Infernal Craftsman, me and Dave will ship you the 8 inches of snow that we got. He's got ice on the ground. I'm telling you, it is not a good thing. It is not a good thing. I'm gonna have to show you a picture here in just a second. Now, let me go to show you Art's pictures that he sent me. And he was saying this is exhaust that he saw at his he said at work today. So I'm not. Oh, that's across the. What in the world? Hold on. Let me read that again. Custom exhaust I saw at work today. Okay. I don't know what that thing is, but it looks like it must be like a Honda or something. So it's probably some sort of tuner Honda Fit, let's say, or Honda Civic, something like that. Here's a. Oh yeah. Oh, that's custom. That is all kinds of custom. And one more shot. Look at that. That's creative there. We've got made their own elbow. I'll give them credit for that. I'll give them credit for creating an elbow. That's pretty good, honestly. That's not an easy thing to do. Let's see. Robert says, Chris, can you send it in August? The snow. Randall Rains. What's up, Barry? Hey, hi, Randall. Hope all's well with you. Derek, I still have a rear panel for a 65 to 66 Mustang. Ford tooling, rare. Yeah, I wish I had the, I don't know, the money to set aside to have somebody make those per that piece. Because we all know that they don't make them like that anymore. Robert, I have not used the Scotch Rake fenders, but if you get them locally, they would be worth trying. The Goodmark ones are good for wall art. So there's an endorsement for Goodmark fenders to hang on the wall. Simone, I bought metal. Oh, she corrected herself. It's not metal jamps. She got ahead of herself. Metal ramps. And Jack stands for the Katina. Still wary of the car, though. Okay. Ray, afternoon all from a very cold Colorado. 6 degrees is not fun. No. Unless you're skiing, then it's probably a good thing. Oh, yeah, ramps. Okay. Derek, nice job. I done it myself. Okay. Yeah, the exhaust. And Robert says, Simone, you'll get used to it. What holds and what doesn't on my wish list is a lift. Yes. Artman, the Y, it was for looks. The single exhaust with an extra tailpipe globbed on. That's awesome. That is awesome. I'll see if I can get one picture. Now, we were talking, Robert has emailed me a picture of the wonderful weather at his residence. Let's see if it'll pop up. Look at this. Yeah, that's in Texas. That's in Texas. And it's, I guess, a lot of ice. He implied it was ice. So that's no fun at all. That is definitely no fun to have that kind of weather. Especially, not for me. I don't need it. Red herring. Ramps are okay, better than jack stands. Depends on the application, but they each have their use. I know I have a set of ramps hanging on the wall. I use them all the time. All the time. And I've probably had those ramps. I was thinking about that the other day. Probably 25 years or more, and they're good to go. Good to go. Jerry, I got home about 90 minutes before it got like what Robert pictured. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you made it. That would have been horrible to drive in. I want to show you something too. I have that picture on the thumbnail for the for the YouTube thing, right? And how does this Wi-Fi thing doing its thing? There should be no Wi-Fi, and it's trying to act like it's doing Wi-Fi again. I don't know. I don't get it. Okay, so here's some pictures. Now, I brought that picture up. That was in a Popular Mechanics magazine that I have in my possession. And so I was going to show you this because this is pretty cool. These are some items that I actually found at my dad's junkyard years and years ago. Here's a Mechanics Illustrated, April 1967. This is older than me, just by a month. But this is older than me. And the advertising they used to put on these things. Here's an advertising for Camel cigarettes. And it says, for years, Camels have been faithful to real taste, the real taste that satisfies longer. And now the famous Camel tradition of taste is new, Camel Filters 2. How about that? Health conscious, got the Camel filters. But there's still flyers in here to mail off for stuff, inserts. And one of the fun things that I saw, and I think I have another picture. I don't know if I made a picture of this or not. Maybe not. But did I pull it up? I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so do your own drum brakes? Sure you can. There was another picture in here that was pretty cool. And let's see, do I have that one? I don't have that one. Look, here's photo cameras, 1967. Really cool stuff. There was one in here. It actually had there was an ad for a Shelby driving school. Yeah, look, there's an ad down here in the corner. That's a Shelby. And so it was talking about the Shelby driving school. Look at that. That's some cool stuff. You just don't see these kind of things anymore. L&M cigarettes. I think they're out of business. So, along with that, there are some other cool things. Like, let me show you this. Independent engineers put Ford trucks through torture tests at Riverside. Racked up 67,000 miles in 63 days. After 67,000 miles, Ford ride and handling almost like new. That's pretty cool. I think, let me see if there was another one in here. Anyway, so this is April 1967. But here's the cool one. I say cool. This is from June 1966. What is that car? What is that car on the cover? How about that? Check that out. Chevy builds a great new low-cost sports car. And look, there's a comparison to the Mustang. But you know what this car was called? What they called it? Because if you look at the image of the yellow one, and you really look closely at the detail, the front end has a flat grille that's got like bars in it, and the taillight panel is very, very flat. The ridges on the quarters come up high. They don't roll over the sides. So this was very much kind of in a prototype design, but yeah, they were comparing it to the Mustang, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but down in the bottom right corner of that picture, it says, when the Panther car, or it says, whether the Panther car catches the Mustang, whatever, but they were calling it the Panther. And even if you look at the top picture, right above the hood, it says Panther. I always thought that was cool. That's why I just held on to this magazine for that reason. So, anyway, there's also some articles in here. I think they did something like, oh, look, a valve job for $20. Imagine that. There was, what was the other one? There was another interesting thing here. Lap times for slot cars. I guess how to make your own timer. But there was one advertisement I thought for a 65 Chevy or Ford truck that looked pretty nice. And then it was in this particular magazine, it also had an economy Chrysler, like a full-size economy. They called it an economy car. Crazy some of the stuff that that they were advertising back then. Oh, okay. So there, Red Herring says better than my Harbor Freight jack stands. Okay, you're talking about the ramps versus the Harbor Freight self-imploding jack stands. Yes, I would agree with that. Mr. Mikey, if you're far enough south in Texas, it is still only rain. Yeah, I think that's called Mexico. Ray Buckman, we lived in a different world back then when smoking was still cool. Yep. Yeah. Simone, I picked up a big screw in one of my tires yesterday, and the set had less than 1 kilometer, 1K mile, or 1,000 miles on them. Gave me a flat, and the spare was flat too. A bad day. Yeah, that's not a good day. That's not a good day. Dennis, hello, Barry and gang. Hope all is well. Boomy 1 degrees Fahrenheit. Ooh, okay. I don't want that either. Derek, great old books and magazines. I have many. I can't part with them. So much history. Yeah, there's so many ads in there. They're just cool to look at, and realize how much time has progressed. Dave Tyson, new was not good. Yeah, not always. Robert, I'm looking through old magazines and old Pop and Mechanics books. Yep. Leo Frack, Derek, do you want to sell your 65 taillight panel? I've got 2 that I need to add metal to the bottom fold to make it fit. Total garbage. Yeah, they are not good. Yeah, and Derek pointed out that he's in Australia. So the freight cost would be that of a new car. Probably. Doyle, you could make up the camera. You could make up the Camaro into a Panther and follow the photos and add Panther badging. That's an interesting idea. Now, the pictures, I don't know if those are just meant to be artist rendering or what, because if you look at it at the right, in the right angles and stuff, it's basically looks, they drew up a Mustang and just kind of changed some things a little bit. But yeah, that would be kind of neat to make a Panther. Sorry, Doyle, I didn't know if I guess you just checked in. Hadn't seen you before. Lightning Rod, I'm amazed at the days of 1 year only cars. Can you imagine the design and tooling cost about a 58 Chevy Impala, for example? That is one of the things that I've always been, because my dad had a junkyard, and everything he had was from he had a few things from the 40s, lots of stuff from the 50s, 60s, 70s. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Look at what they were doing, and in some instances they kept a similar shape, but it was still a change in tooling. It was still different every year, and I think they quit doing that. Right around to me the big marker change is 73. Like if you look at the 73 Chevy trucks. The Fords, those sort of things, they were pretty much the same vehicle for several years with very little changes done to them. But yeah, all that crazy stuff they did to make those things every year different. Something's different. Dawn checking in, Dawn's Manufactory. Hello, everyone. Clear and 23 degrees Fahrenheit in PDX. That's chilly. Greg Blinko checking in from Australia. Glad you're here, Greg. Randall. Barry, how much for a coupe to fastback conversion? That is a good question. That is a very good question. I think, well, the hard part is saying how much the parts are going to cost, right? So you have to figure that out. Like, if you were to buy the parts, then it would just be what I would charge, my labor, right? And I don't have a hard number to write down and say it would be, um, $5,000. I don't know. I'd have to actually like account for my time. But it is something I'll consider doing. If you're looking for somebody to do it, I have to get obviously some other things out of the way, and I also have my 67 that I want to do the fastback conversion on. So those are some things that are on the agenda. But I can't say maybe I could do the 67, account my time, and get a rough estimate and say, yeah, it'll be X. You know, but it's whatever you want to spend. Whatever you want to spend, and then double it. That's how it works. Leonard, evening all. How's everyone doing? Glad you're here, Leonard. Whoops, Chris. I'm glad I'm working on a car that comes with factory panels or factory replacement is a pain, even though they don't take a look at doors, body lines are wrong or misplaced. Yeah. Yeah. Simone says hi to Greg. Artman, full price. Dave Britton. Barry, not only did they do all the drawings and designs for the cars back then, as well as the tooling, they did it without computers. Yes, very accurate. And remember, they would make, I don't know if they did it, I think they did it back then. They would make a clay, they still do it today, but they would do clay models of those vehicles and what the proposed idea would be, adjust that and make drawings and, scale all the tooling up to make it all happen. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that had to happen. And, then they would push on the idea that the cars are going to die in 100,000 miles. You have to get rid of them. 100,000 miles, that's a magic number. They're all going to fall, they'll fall apart. Those cars were like tanks. The only things you had, same like today, you just kept doing maintenance on them. You can drive them forever. Supposedly. I know a guy had a 61 Impala SS convertible. I think when it finally died, and I mean literally like it was breaking apart, he had 400,000 miles on that car. Now, he was a bit of a miser, and he was also somebody who drove things until they literally fell apart. But yeah, it had like 400,000 miles on it. Greg saying hi to Simone. Randall, I have a 66 I want to do. Okay. Well, I mean, that's the same concept. Same concept. Yeah, Randall. You're welcome. And like I said, it's really hard to say this is what it's going to cost. I just can't. I mean, Ray says 5,000 is pretty cheap considering labor costs these days. Well, yeah, but that's just a number I threw out there. That may not be the actual number. I'm just like, because there's lots of variables that come into play too. Like this Bronco, right? It came in here to get painted. You see that it's not painted, but there's also all kinds of other things that had to get done to fix what somebody else had done in the build process. Now, I've mentioned it in the videos. I've mentioned it on the stream. Perhaps if it was handed to somebody else and it was asked to be painted, like at a shop or body shop or something, they went, okay, yeah, we'll paint it. They'd do a quick, scuff and basic prep in a couple days and just spray paint on it and say, here you go. Good luck. Hope everything fits. And that's the advantage of when I do stuff. I have an eye, I feel, for one, how things should look, and two, how to fix it if it's not right, because I'm focused on making things as right as I can make them. So this is much closer to the paint process, but you have to still account for time of fixing all those other things. So when you look at a Mustang doing the fastback, well, you have to account for variables that come into play. Is there something else wrong, or something, this piece that has to be fixed or replaced, or those sort of things. Lots of things come into play. Derek, and depending on how good the parts are, the cost goes up just to make the parts fit. See, there you go. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Lightning Rod says, Dave, yes, no CAD back in the 50s. That is true. Chris, Barry, 72, 73 was a death of tooling every year. The 72 and 73 Torino and Montego are essentially the same. By 74, everything set to a 5 to 10 year body design. Cougar or the Gran Torino Elite. Yeah. That's all they really did. They figured 5 to 10 years. You know what I find interesting, though? Elite. Okay. One of the things I found interesting was I did a 55 Chevy truck at the body shop years ago. I converted it from a small back window to a big back window. I had to do a lot of massaging to get those pieces to fit. And I remember we ordered a new tailgate for that thing. And the box, I'm pretty positive that the box said 53 to 73 or something like that. But it was a step-side bed. And so it was the same tailgate from all those years, which makes sense. You don't change the shape of a tailgate. But they didn't do anything to modify the letters. They didn't do anything to change the design at all. They just say, yep, here you go. Here's your tailgate. Keep using it. Keep using it. One thing that just didn't change. Richard, what kind of value does a Coupe conversion have? How do you title it? And can you sell it as a legit fastback? That's a very good question that I don't have a good answer for. As with anything, the VIN number is always going to tell you what that car was. So a coupe will always be a coupe. Even if you transfer over the sheet metal and you make it a fastback, the VIN number will always come back and tell you it's a coupe. Now, you're not going to be able to sell it as a legit fastback. It just won't happen. And I think anybody, in most cases that knows these cars, they're going to be able to tell that it was a coupe and it was converted to a fastback. The only gray area, and I say gray because I'm not suggesting you know where to do this, but some people may buy a rusted to death fastback with a good VIN number and put it on a coupe that they've already converted. Then it makes it more difficult to determine. But you can't sell it as a legit fastback. And I can't say what kind of value that they bring. Some people just don't care. They just want the fastback. So, find the right person, you might get 40, 50 grand out of it. I don't know. Art Man, I think the 100,000 mile expiration date had more to do with being able to get a hold of help if there was a breakdown more than reliability of the car. Cell phones quadrupled the mileage of a car. Yeah, I could see that. I know that we had plenty of cars in the junkyard that there was nothing wrong with them. Like, they weren't wrecked. There was no rust. The interior was good. They still start and drove. And people they would get rid of them. They're like, oh, it's got 98,000 miles on it. I have to get rid of it. And that's it. That was the mindset. But again, maintenance, change out wheel bearings, keep the oil changed, get the transmission rebuilt. The body doesn't, care. It really doesn't. I know, like, my Suburban the body itself has 370,000 miles on it. Now, I know the engine's been swapped, and I think the transmission's been rebuilt at least once, but the body is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The interior's good. Everything works. So just keep maintenance on stuff. Nick checking in. Hello, Nick. Glad you're here. Dave Britton, curious, what is the most mileage kilometers you ever put on a car? Most for me on my brand new 88 Civic, I put on 430,000 kilometers, 267,000 miles. Did not burn a drop of oil. Those were good little cars. I just, as I said, my Suburban has 370 on it. Now, I didn't put all those miles on it. Probably the most I've put on one vehicle, because I haven't kept vehicles that long or long enough to do. But I would say at least 100,000 miles I put on a vehicle. Not since new, but I may have bought it with 50 or 60 or 80 or 100,000 and put another 100,000 on it, if not more. So, Robert, you can't change the VIN number, so it will always show up as a coupe. Now, if you built it brand new from scratch, here it would register as that year replica, but be given a modern made-up VIN number. That is true. I guess you could do that too. That's an option. Lightning Rod, the 58 Chevy Impala is one of the most unique one-year-only cars I can recall. How many more were there like that? In the 58, yes. 59 and 60 were similar. 57 was by itself, but 58 was pretty unique. Here's something I learned today. I had somebody show me some pictures of a car, and they said, yeah, this belongs to my cousin. It's a 54 Oldsmobile. I looked at it and I said, no, that's not a 54, it's a 55. And he said, no, I'm pretty sure he said it was a 54. And I looked at it, and I said, that body tells me it's a 55. Well, I looked up 54 Oldsmobile online, and sure enough, the 54 Oldsmobile showed up as what would be a 55 looking body. And I said that in 54, like if you go to the Chevy and you go to 53 and 54, those two cars are similar, the 53 and 54, even 52, I think, and 50, maybe 51. But anyway, those bodies are very similar. The big change for Chevy was 55, where they come out with the box, the Tri-5, 55, 56, 57. And so then I looked up 54 Pontiac, and I think it was also the older body design. And I was like, maybe Oldsmobile had the jump on everybody and come out with a 55 so-called look in 54. Or maybe it was a late production, early production 55 entitled as a 54. I don't know. But I thought that was interesting. But still, you're right. 58 Chevy was very unique in all of its chrome and all the stuff. I mean, so much chrome back then. So much chrome all over these cars. Jeff, thank you, man. Thank you. Glad you're here. Hope all is well with you. Appreciate it. Let's see. Chris is saying art. Man, more or less, probably because the part availability was not being produced anymore. If you bought a 64 Mustang, by 67 it was a completely different car. Yeah. Mr. Mikey, 77 Ford F100 mileage, 413,000. 413,000. That's pretty good. And 70. That's really good. You win. Rick Stevenson. Unfortunately, with the fastback conversion, the Marty report will always say that it was originally built as a coupe. That is very correct. Leonard, Dave, I had 3 Fords, all over 300,000 on them. My 7 Ranchero had almost 400,000 when I sold it. Awesome. Doyle, if time is money, I have a fortune in the Cutlass, probably 1,500 hours and 6,000 in parts and supplies. As you know, I am nowhere near done. Yep. Yeah. Here's a difficult thing for me. Obviously, I want to get a return for my investment, what I put in my time into a project, right? And I struggle with how I do that. For one, I really like what I do. And I think most people that are into this stuff really like what they do, or they wouldn't be doing it, right? Just with anything. But I also look at it from, let's say I'm going to put a quarter panel on a Mustang, that I'm going to do it, right? And when it's done, it's going to look like it belongs to that Mustang. Here's the thing. I could do it. Let's say I don't film it, because filming takes time as well. But let's say I don't film that, and I just do it. Honestly, I could probably do that quarter panel in less than a day. The whole thing. Now, somebody else doing it without years of knowledge and experience, it might take them 3 or 4 days, honestly. I mean, because they may fight with stuff and have to figure out what to do and what not to do. So I run into that difficulty of saying, well, if a body shop is charging $50 an hour for somebody to do that kind of work versus I'm charging $50 an hour and I can do it faster, is my time worth $100 an hour? You know, that's kind of where you have to balance things out and figure out what's best. And like you're saying, you have 1,500 hours in it. And not that I'm picking at anybody, but if 1,500 hours, if somebody with my experience, could I do it in 1,000 hours? And you know what I mean? Kind of be, offset the difference there. That's a really tough thing for me to wrap my head around, where I need to be on those sort of numbers. Just very difficult. Lynn, the day will come when there is a conversion kit from a fastback to a coupe. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save all the parts from the cars that get taken apart. Like, if I do them, I'll save those pieces and try to cut them off in a certain way that then go back on. That would be a good build. Dawn, rest of mod 65 and 66 fastback conversions sold for $30,000 to $60,000 on, I guess, Barrett last week. And it depends on what's in them too. People can put a lot of stuff into the customization of the car, engine, drivetrain, all that stuff. It all adds up. Doyle, the other thing was if it was over 85,000 miles, dealerships gave no trade-in value, so you were quick to trade. Yep. They had quite the market on those things. Dawn, I put 200,000 miles on Betsy. That's awesome, Dawn. That really is. Dave Tyson, back in the day, autos with over 70,000 were junk. Yeah, they were. I mean, they really pushed that. They really did. Dawn, don't know if I'll make 300,000. Well, I mean, all you got to do is drive back and forth across the country like 10 times, right? Something like that. Leonard, 59 Ford Galaxy and a 60 Galaxy were 1-year runs. Very true. And think about that. You talk about complex cars. How about the retractable? Yeah. The retractables were crazy. Lightning rod 7 years back in the 50s, the only difference from year to year would be parking lights or taillights. So hard to tell a 54 from a 55 sometimes. Yeah, that is true. Car guy Troy, kind of late. What did I miss? I showed some magazines. You missed that earlier. I showed some old magazines that I have. I'm not going to go over that again. That, and we had an update from Robert that he has snow in Texas, or ice. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're dealing with the bad weather that's coming into the country. Robert, I would take a 58 over the 55 to 57. I would probably agree with you on that. But I think I would like a bubble top, like a 61. They just look really cool to me. I just think the 61s are really cool. I love a 58, especially the convertible. I really like the 58 convertible, but a 61 bubble top would probably be nice. Randall, Barry, what happened to the Brooklyn Pony Project? It went away. Yeah, it went away. Finally got an agreement with the owner. We couldn't go any further with it. Let's just put it that way. It got complicated, and I wasn't getting the parts that I needed, so I stopped working on it, and that's where it ended. So, unfortunately, I had high hopes of getting that car all the way to the finish line, but yeah, didn't happen. Dave Britton, the problem with us here in Southern Ontario is there ends up being more holes than car from all the salt after 150,000 miles. Bragging rights in car ads, hearsay, has never seen salt. That would be bragging rights. Yeah. Growing up in Pennsylvania and a Rust Belt, I know exactly what you're talking about. Chris, Dave, yeah, or sparingly winter driven, yeah. Leonard's talking Or Lightning Rod's talking to Leonard. Ford Galaxy and the 60 Galaxy were 1 year runs. Good info. Randall Heath, -8 here in Mountain Green, Utah this morning. Ooh. Yeah, that's chilly. You can have that. Leonard, the 60 Starliner was in a class all by itself. Yes, very much so. Derek Pro, answer to that is, you are quick due to your experience, but you also give the quality and accuracy, which these days, not so much. Myself, I'm not interested in doing cheap, low-quality work. Yeah, I can't. I mean, I know the Bronco is not going to be, it's not going to SEMA, right? I'm not doing that. I'm not making a show truck. He wants it so he can take it off-road, and, but I still have to have certain things that look right. I just can't let certain things go. I'm not going to play with the gaps on that. It is what it is, and they are nice. They're good, clean gaps. But I'm not going to make a little tight gap. It's just not worth it. I'm going to leave it the way it is because those are big gaps on those vehicles. But I still have to have everything pass the litmus test. It has to look good for me to be happy with it. Ray Buckman, I watched a video where the guy explained that ships are charging up to $100 an hour and parts they order at cost, charging double to the customer, which is why it can cost so much for I guess shops, not ships. I'm assuming shops. Let me read that again. I watched a video where the guy explained that shops are charging up to $100 an hour and parts they order at cost, charging double to the customer, which is why it costs so much for shop work. I believe it. And the thing is, there's only, I'm not saying that I am the only one that does what I do. There are plenty of people that do what I do, but we're dwindling, I think. Really, I think the numbers are dwindling as to who takes that extra effort and makes it the way it's supposed to look. So that has value. Michael Peglerini, hello all. I have a 61 409. Ooh, very nice. I really like that bubble top. I know if you ever got in a crash and rolled that thing or anything, you're dead. But you would look cool in the process. Lightning rod, old pickup trucks are just the best for styling. So many great designs. I agree. And I really like the 55s, 56 Chevy with the big back windows. Again, that whole being able to see all around you is really just kind of a cool feature. Really some great designs back then. Shane, a long time ago, got a Honda Accord with 250,000 on it, changed timing belt and water pump, drove the crap out of it, and sold it with 320,000 on it for more than I paid for it. That is a big plus. Good. Ray, shops, not ships. Yeah, I figured that out. Robert, the PT Cruiser in the pic has never seen salt, looks like new underneath, and needs a new owner this summer. I'm sure those are becoming hard to get. Simone, good night all. Very tired. Okay, glad you're here, Simone. Bob Shoemaker. I missed my 61 bubble top I had in my senior year of high school. Sold after I got married so I could get the 66 GT 350 Mustang, my first Mustang. Oh, okay. That's a nice car. That's a nice car. I do remember, I remember seeing in my dad's junkyard 61, 62, 3 and 4 Impalas, and I thought, what, a 3 and 4 look pretty similar to each other. And then 65 came out, pew, completely different direction. And of course, the 66 was very similar to the 65. But yeah, that bubble top is just really cool. And then if you got one of like the Olds, Oldsmobile version, or the Pontiac, where they made them look, they put taillights in them and made them look like rockets and all that sort of thing. Really cool accents they were doing back in the 60s. Simone says, good night to Robert. Okay. Car guy Troy, a bit of bad weather here too. 4 degrees this morning on the way to work. Not cool. Well, it is cool. Very cool. My grandpa had 2 57 retractables, cool cars. Had a 37 CAD that was neat too. Family are all car people. Yeah. Um, that just triggered a memory. There was a car, there's a show on TV with cars, other than like Counts Customs. I can't watch that show anymore, or Grease Monkey Junkies, whatever they are. I don't watch those. But there was or maybe it was a little video clip that I saw, and it was of a Rolls-Royce Phantom that was from like 1939 or something, or maybe even earlier than that. And they talked about it in the video how the Phantom, the body, what it looked like was a big boxy gangster car, like a Duesenberg. Very much the same vehicle. And it was shipped overseas and turned into this beautiful two-door coupe. It's like they took the chassis and they remade everything. And then that car was, I think it was in India, and then it got transferred around and ended up back here in the States, and it was just sitting in like a junkyard. And somebody found it, and they decided to restore it. I think it might be in the Peterson Museum now, I think. And beautiful, beautiful car, painted black. If you ever see the images of that car, I think it's called the Phantom. The doors are like round, and they open out, and it was just a really cool car. So when you said the 37 Cadillac, that kind of triggered my thought process there. It's neat to see stuff like that was created back then. Chris Greenaway, Dave and I can agree. We can walk car shows, and it's a original Canadian car. They have done floors, balances, and inner-outer rockers minimum. Yeah, I'm sure. Randall, are you going to do a Coupe to fastback conversion series of videos in the future? That would be awesome to see. That is the plan. I have a 67 Coupe that it's got weird rust issues, and I do want to do the conversion, and I'm working on how to do that. Like, I want to get the parts on hand and all that sort of thing. So in the meantime, before I get to that, I've got the Bronco to finish, get that painted, and then I'll be rolling in a 69 428 Cobra Jet. Now, the Cobra Jet is going to be here. It's going to be a resto mod. He doesn't have the original engine or transmission, so he's going to do a resto mod on it. But that's going to be here in 2 weeks, because the Bronco, I can't do much actual paint work until I have good weather. I've got to have nice temperatures to get paint on it. So that 69 will be rolling in here in about 2 weeks. Chris, plus the bottoms of the fenders and quarters, talking about the Canadian cars. Terry Keithley, I only charge $25 per hour, time, and material. I don't think I could do that. Derek, I think you need a new shop truck, a 55 with your logo on it. That would be cool. That really would. Red Herring, 62 is my favorite Impala. Yeah. I like those too. Michael, hello all. I have a 61 409 Impala at my shop now, doing a four-wheel Willwood disc brakes and rebuild the rear diff. Wish it was mine. You should send a picture of that. You should send me a picture of that. I'll put it up on the thing if you have a picture of it. Doyle, my brother, has a 61 Impala. He has started, I guess hasn't started on yet. 283 auto. It is a four-door, but it still has the look. Yes. Especially if it's a hardtop. The four-door, those four-door Impalas, if they were a hardtop, really, really look good. Leonard, the 49 to 58 Dodge 5 windows were the ticket back in high school with the early Chrysler 318s. That was a good truck too. Yep. Greg, a job worth doing is worth doing right. Yes. Thank you, Greg. You're absolutely right. Tommy checking in from Busted Knuckle Garage over in Alabama. Glad you're here, Tommy. And Robert, remember when Canadian versions of cars were different? Yes. And different wasn't always good, but yeah, I remember when they were different. And Shane, I remember the day when you could tell a vehicle just by its looks. Now you see a white SUV. It could be a Kia, Honda, Buick, Ford, Hyundai, etc. No separation of styles anymore. Not really. In fact, there was a time where the new Honda Accord they had out, the two-door Accord, if you parked it next to a Mustang in that generation, it was like, oh, they look like the same car. They really did. They had the same roof line, the same back window shape, and all that stuff. Yeah, that was disappointing. It's still disappointing. Now, I will say, I give credit to uh, GM for the Camaro, right, for bringing back the Camaro design. Great idea. Uh, the Mustang never really went away. It's changed over time and then become, I don't know, less. It's in some versions look more husky and bulky and tough than others. So some I really like and some I don't like. Just put it that way. And then the of course Chrysler Dodge coming out with the Challenger. They hit a home run with that car. Just saying. You know, when you have the Hellcat and all that, I can't say anybody has done it better than the Challenger. I really can't. That thing looks so correct to the early car. I know there's changes and subtle changes, whatever, but they did such a fantastic job with that. That's just my opinion. Chris, Robert Meteor, 1965 to 69, Mercury Monterey Park Lane with different trim. Saying Robert Meteor. Okay. Pontiac Acadian, Chevy Nova, Pontiac Beaumont, Chevy Chevelle, different grill. Yes. Yeah, they definitely had those had different names as well. Dave Britton, I think the most perfectly designed classics would be a 37 Studebaker Coupe Express. I agree. That's a very, very beautiful truck. 57 Chevy and a 69 Mustang. What would your top three be? Oh man, that's a tough question because I mean I like the Studebaker Express Coupe, but I really like the 53 54 Commander as a hardtop. I just really like that as a design. Lowy did such a good job on that thing. I just love it. If you look at that car compared to anything else built in that time period, it looks like none of them, which is fantastic. The 57 Chevy is an iconic design, but I might even lean towards a. Boy, those are some tough questions there. Um, there's others, like the 57 Chevy is cool, but like the Buick versions had more chrome and more accents and more trim level, I think, than the Chevy did. Even though it's similar looking car, and of course the '69 Mustang, I agree. I like that fastback. That's probably the best design that Ford ever did on the Mustang. Of course, I am partial to 68s, but I really, really am love the 69s. They just incredible cars. Now I hadn't really thought about top three overall, but there's probably some others in there. 60, probably the 69 Camaro is an iconic vehicle, as well. And then, of course, you can go back to the early Corvette, stuff like that, when they were making, the little six-cylinder version, 53, when that came out, that really turned some heads. Just all kinds of stuff out there. Leonard, the GM's Arcadian were different cross between the Chevy and the Pontiac. Yeah. Chris says, yeah, mostly aesthetic parts, Leonard. Yep. Dave Tyson, I own a 50 Studebaker four-door. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Dave Britton, yes, the Challenger is the perfect remake. Could not do it better. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it matches so close to what the original looked like. And you could probably, it would be kind of neat if somebody, I don't know if I've seen one of those where somebody's put the old style wheels on it. That would be cool. Take one of those modern ones and put the old Krager SS's on it. Paint it, they're already doing the paint to make it look like, the old retro design. But yeah, I haven't seen any of those with Krager SS's on it. That would be interesting. Chris, David, I argue the back window needs a little more of a rake, in my opinion. Yeah, there's probably some stipulations for strength, like crash protection. There's probably some sort of thing they have to maintain. I don't know. Derek, I think GM, Ford, and Mopar should have kept making old school cars with new tech, running gear, safety features. It would be a big market for sure. There's been a push from other like independent builders to try to bring back a Chevelle. I've seen cars built, modern versions of the Chevelle, and they look pretty good. I don't know if GM is even considering those sort of things, but I'm with you. They could have continued that trend. There's, but I guess they have the reason for only doing what they're doing. Doyle, you don't think the new Mustang Mach-E looks like the Mach-1? Yeah, it looks just like it. No bell for you. Mr. Mikey, Buicks and Olds in those years cost more than Chevys and Fords. That is true. And there's a reason for that. Chevy was like the base model. It really was. People forget that. Chevy was like the low-level car, basic car you could get. And then I don't know which step was next, so whether it was Pontiac or Oldsmobile, I don't know which. And then your Cadillac would be up on top. And so you look at the old Cadillacs of that era too, with the massive front ends and big bullet bumpers and chrome just falling off of these cars. Just amazing machines. Shane, Challenger was a great remake, but the Charger looks like a pregnant Dodge Avenger. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, they kind of they had to have a four-door version of something. That's why they did that. Yeah, I can't argue with that. You're right. 70 is my favorite. I don't know why. I just like the front end the most. 70 Mustang you're talking about. It is kind of cool. It has the little looks like vents on the side. And when you look back at the history of those cars, when they raced those things, they did the Trans Am race series and stuff like that. I know on the 69, they actually made those vents on the quarters push air onto the brakes to try to keep the brakes cooled off. And of course, the front, they always had some sort of ductwork that would push in there, and it kind of makes you think of that on the 70, that those would be like air inlets, maybe to cool the brakes or something along those lines. And I've not seen, like I had a 70 Coupe that I tried to put on the road when I was a teenager, and I put a 69 front end on it. So it was a little mix of both, but I don't know that I've seen anybody take this 70 front clip and put on a 69 fastback. So you have the quarter vents, on the sides, and then the vents on the extensions. But that might be an interesting look too. I don't know. Robert, I'd like to see a new Chevelle. Well, if you Google it, I mean, not GM, but there's some people out there they built bodies, or at least one prototype, and it looks pretty good. It's a little, certain areas just don't make sense to me, but that's the way it is. Nick, my absolute favorite car that I will own is a 64 Polara. Probably make a Max Wedge type tribute. Okay. 64 Polara. Okay. That would be cool. Okay. You get it done, Nick. Leonard, nothing against 69 Mustang, but 71 73 Mustangs were my favorite years. And I get that. Some people really like those. I know when I was a young teenager, I had a model kit of a 73 Mach 1. And that was kind of, I really liked it for a period of time. And I still, on occasion, I really like the way some parts of it look. I think the convertibles look probably better than the fastbacks or the coupe, whatever. But I think the convertibles look really sharp myself. Chris, I think in my opinion, the best looking is the 69 Chevelle and the 70 Judge. The best Ford midsize is a 72 Gran Torino fastback. I think the stat is 23,000 between 70 and 71, and 72 Gran Torino 90,000. Okay. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of the Gran Torino. I like the older Torino more, the regular Torino, because I think it's sleeker looking to me. But that's just everybody has what they like, and that's fine. Ray Buckman, if only they would stay away from electric Challengers, Mustangs, and Camaros. I know I will. I will be staying away from any of that. Yeah. Derek, gotta go, guys. Great to catch up. Stay well, everyone. Okay, glad you're here, Derek. Ray says good day, and Dave Britton. I remember an Oldsmobile ad from the late 60s and early 70s that said nothing rides like an Oldsmobile. Most of the GMs had the same suspension parts. Exactly right. Robert, the car project I like for myself would be a 70 Chevelle or El Camino or a Buick GSX. Ah, okay. Do the Buick. I mean, probably harder to find parts for, though, but yeah. Nick, I actually saw one for sale with the front 70 clip and rear 69 sport body. It was probably 4 years ago when I was looking for my project on Facebook. Okay. And Doyle, I've seen a conversion of new style Camaro to a Trans Am and a Challenger to a Superbird. It was aftermarket, but cool looking. Yes, I have seen the Firebird version of the Camaro, and yeah, they did a lot of effort to make that look good, but it does look good. I will say that. I wanted to show you since you brought up the Polara. Now this isn't even comparable to the Polara. But this magazines I was showing you, looky here. Here is a advertisement for a '66 Chevrolet Impala SS Coupe. We were talking cars, and it says turbojet 427 V8, 425 horsepower, and it had 8.25 by 14 tires. Yeah. Yeah, stops on a dime. But the other one I want to show. Oh, here's the Ford pickup truck. It's a color ad too. That's pretty cool. But there was another one. See, I think it's on this next page here. Tom McCahill tests the economy Chrysler. I cannot, for the life of me, put economy with the name Chrysler. Just doesn't happen. To give some specs on this, this was a 66 Chrysler Newport with a 383 engine in it. Brake horsepower 325, 425 foot-pounds of torque. Weight. What do you think this car weighed? What do you think this car weighed? Anybody take a guess as to a 66 Chrysler Newport? Somebody guess what this car weighed. Remember, it's an economy car. Let's see. Wheelbase was 124 inches. It held 25 gallons of gas. Turning diameter was 44 feet. 0 to 30 miles per hour in 3.3 seconds. 0 to 30. 0 to 60 in 9.1 seconds. 0 to 100 miles per hour. That's the other question. How fast 0 to 100 in his Chrysler Economy Newport, right? Anybody can guess on that. The total price for this loaded twirler delivered in Florida came to $4,834. Okay. So let's see. Let's see what kind of answers we got here. Okay, so let me go back up here. Dave Britton says, wait, hold on. Oh, I missed a couple. So, Suburban Hooligan, EV muscle cars aren't really an issue. It's that manufacturers slapping muscle car names on SUVs and crossovers. That sucks. Yes. Clark Clifford is here. Glad you're here, Clark. Give you a bell. Shane says, yes, Robert, Buick GSX, people don't realize how crazy fast that car was. Yes. Dave Britton, I was just looking at the Challenger to Daytona kit, and it really does look cool. Okay. Chris Barry, it's sleek, but not as aggressive hips or curves. Plus, the body line down the quarter and door. Take a look at the old car memories video. It details why it's sold better. Okay. So Robert says 3,800 pounds. Nope. Dave Moore, 4,200 pounds. I'll just tell you, Dave, you're really close. You're really close. Chris Greenaway, 5,100 to 5,200 pounds. Nope. Too high. Dave Britton, 4,300 pounds. Too high. Tommy, 3,800 pounds. Too low. Dave Tyson, 2 ton. That's pretty close. Lynn says 1,500 pounds. Terry says 5,300, and Leonard says 6,000. The answer is 4,210 pounds. 4,210 pounds for this economy Chrysler with a 383 in it. So the other question is, what was the speed? 0 to 100 miles an hour. Robert, you're close, but you're a little bit high. Chris Greenaway, 16 to 17 seconds. Dave Britton, 21 seconds. Lynn says 34. And the answer is 27.1 seconds. 27 seconds to get to 100 miles an hour. Compare that to the Hellcat. What does it do? I mean, it's probably does it 10 seconds. I don't know. It probably does, actually. And top speed on this economy Chrysler was 115.3 miles per hour. Whee! Okay. Let's see. Okay, so Leonard had guessed 53 or 6,000. Okay. Ray Buckman, a friend of mine had a 73 Buick Century GS with a stage 1 4-speed. That thing was crazy powerful. Yes. Bob Shoemaker, my brother-in-law had a 67 SS with a 327 4-speed car. Amazing how much power it had. Yep. Michael, I sent a picture of the 61 in Facebook. My email isn't playing nice for some reason. Let's see if I can get there. Maybe I can pull that up. Oh. Yeah. Let me just okay. I'm going to try to pull that picture up. Okay, here we go. Here's that 61 Impala. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Now, yeah, that's a pretty car. That's a pretty car. I still like the bubble top better, but that's a pretty car. Yep, I like it. Let's see. Crash Rider, about $1 a pound for the Chrysler. Yes, you're right. Car Guy Troy Electric Cobra Jet program is rolling. Makes a weird sound, but crazy fast. Love to see them keep the V8 as long as possible, but electric is coming. Yeah, I mean they're pushing hard for it, and you know they've got all those kids over in the kids in Bangladesh. I think it is. digging for cobalt, making $2 a day so that they can make all these batteries. Kids dying over there. They don't care. Like, keep digging for cobalt. You get your $2. Look it up. It's true. Clark Clifford, 4,100. Okay. Dave Moore says, yay, I win. Yep, you win. There you go, Dave. You got 2 bells. Clark's Bear says, let's show Dave Moore what he won. He won 2 bells. And Chris had said 27 on that time. Okay. Rick Stevenson. I remember when they were testing the 66 Cobra SC, it could do 0 to 100 in under 10 seconds. Yeah, and that car weighed like 2,000 pounds, though, didn't it? I think it weighed next to nothing in comparison. Compare that to the Cheetah. Yeah. Imagine the Cheetah out there running around. Ray Buckman says, read the same article. Oh, Rick, okay. Leonard, wow, my Torino weight is 4,600 pounds. Isn't that crazy? How much those cars weighed back then? And we thought nothing of it. You know, and they didn't have ABS and all the fun stuff we have today, so you'd lock up your brakes and just skid for half a mile. Be on a wet road. Is it going to stop? Eventually. Chris Leonard says 73, correct. Okay. And Cheetah was a very cool looking wild car. Yes. Now I'd like to build one of those. You can buy the kits. Yeah. If anybody's looking for my Christmas gift this year, get me a Cobra kit car. I mean, a Cheetah kit car. I read Cobra because Dave said Chevy Cobra. It was the answer to the Cobra, was the Cheetah. Yeah. Hooray! The Corvette is 3,000. Seems like a lot. Yeah. Shane, I can see the car battery ad now. The degenerator battery. Keep killing and killing and killing. Yep. Yeah. There's all kinds of little kids over there digging for cobalt. Whee! Dave Tyson says drum brakes. Yes. Leonard, and put your foot through the floor also. Yeah. Yeah, just keep stomping on it. It's going to slow down more. Greg Blinkoberry, that was a great car. Yes, it was. Rick Stevenson, my 17 Grand Torino Sport ran 15 flat in the quarter mile. That's probably pretty good for that car. Yeah. Car guy Troy, I'm with you. Nothing good in a battery. Never has been. Never will be. Cheetah was that car in Hardcastle and McCormick. No. Look up the Cheetah. Cheetah. It was basically a prototype car that Chevy was putting together that was scary. We'll just say that. It was a scary car. It was meant to compete with the Cobra. They only built like 50 of them, and finding an original is almost impossible. But basically, you like sat on top of the rear axle, and the car looked long, but the engine was back to the middle of the car. It was like almost perfect weight and balance on that car. And, yeah, pretty cool concept. But you can still buy them. They sell the kits. You can actually buy a kit. Rick Stevenson, too bad, gone, now very rusty. Yeah. Chris, my old man, going down in Jersey on the turnpike, had a cop who wasn't moving due to the snow, no one on the road. The old man did 2 full rotations without hitting the divider, and the cop let him go. Okay. Yeah. Clark's, is it Shell? Shell makes a Cheetah kit? I don't know who Shell is. Chris in the 77 TA, more or less, too scared to move. Okay. Shell. And Robert, the Cheetah was like a Jag E-Type that was smushed and stretched around. Yes. Yeah, it was quite the creation. And Rick Stevenson, Stacy David is building a cheetah on gears. Yeah, he's a popular guy. Okay, it's an hour and a half. My throat's getting tired. I got to get in the house, get something to eat. So I'm going to call it a night. This has been a good night. We had some good conversation, some good stuff to talk about, and we'll continue doing this. I will be putting out another video maybe tomorrow. I talked about that Loki Thor pressure washer, jump starter, air compressor thing. I did a video on it, and I demonstrate everything for it, and I'm going to put that video out to satisfy the needs of the deal that I made. I can't say specifically that I would maybe buy one, but I'm just saying it worked. It did what it's supposed to do. So anyway, thank you all for being here. I'll be back next week, next Monday at 7 once again. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.